Hey guys, it's Alana and welcome back for another episode of Seeing Other People. Today's episode is presented by our wonderful sponsor, Mindset Wellness CBD. We are absolutely obsessed with Mindset Wellness CBD's CBD gummies and we would love for you to try them. So head to mindsetwellnesscbd.com and use code Seeing Other People at checkout for 10% off and free shipping. This episode is such a fun time. I'm so excited for all of you to hear it. We bring on Nicole Pellegrino, who is the amazing co-host of the Betches Brides podcast. And Nicole tells us how to really make the most of going to a wedding as a single person and how to maybe meet someone at a wedding as a single person. And we hear about all of the different things that our friends who maybe the bride or the groom could actually do for us as singles at their wedding. So it's a really great time. And of course, wedding season is coming up. So this is the perfect time for this. And we hope you love it. Let's bring Nicole in.
All right, everybody, we're back in with Nicole Pellegrino of the Betches Brides podcast. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for being here.
Hello. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I love interacting with single people.
Because you're not one of them.
Yeah, you're not one.
Exactly.
Can you tell our audience where you are and where you're at in your romantic life? That will be a good context setter for everyone listening.
Yes. And it's funny because I still I listened to a couple episodes of your podcast and I still love listening to podcasts that are targeted towards single people, but I have been in the same relationship I just asked him right before this. I think it's 7 or 8 years. I don't really know. We met back in college,
Wow.
in Virginia. Yeah. And so I'm in Hoboken, New Jersey, right outside of Manhattan. We live that Hoboken life now.
Love that.
All that means is that you have a lot of extra space and you're probably going to get the vaccine way before any of us in New York.
You know what? I love that, looking at it through that lens. Thank you, because
You're
usually
welcome.
it's people are like, Hoboken, I would never even step foot there. And so that's really refreshing. You know what? I like
Got
that.
you. I got you.
But yeah, so we are there and, that's what's happening. Oh yeah. And I co-host the Betches Brides podcast. It's an amazingly fun podcast with dating guru and Betches co-founder, Jordana Abraham. She's literally a dating expert, we like to call her. So we are both engaged to be married. So we co-host a Betches Brides podcast, and it's all about planning a wedding, more of the interpersonal issues and aspects of planning a wedding and marriage too. We like to give marriage advice and our opinions.
I love it.
What would you say is the success of the 8 years of a relationship, now engagement, that if you could simplify it for our listeners, what you guys doing that we need to be doing?
So what makes it successful? Oh my God. Okay, we're not even the perfect, trust me. And I think that's why people sometimes like us, because I'm very honest. I'll be we are in a rut right now. Fuck. But then I think it's just you do have to work hard to keep things exciting and keep falling in love with each other. And I once heard Jessie James Decker say this, and it's honestly stuck with me. In her relationship with Eric Decker, it was, you have to always be flirting don't forget you still have to flirt with your significant other.
Whoa.
And I forget that all the time. I mean, yeah.
That's great. Always be flirting.
Right? Always flirt and keep it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it's definitely not always sunshine and rainbows over here, but
It's great to hear that, because I feel when we're single, we have such the grass is greener on the other side mindset. Mm-hmm. But once you get into a relationship, that's not where the work ends. That's where the work begins, to actually keep the relationship going and to build a relationship that's going to work. So it is nice to hear that there are things that you guys have had to work to do to keep it going. Because sometimes we forget that. I will say,
after I've been with him for 8 years, literally, and we've lived together for how many of those? Probably 4, or I don't even know. But I will say, sometimes I do get envious of single people who are in their 20s and stuff, and late 20s even, because I'm would I be better at being more independent if I wasn't always with this guy. Not that he does everything for me or anything. I'm still a pretty independent person. And that's another tip in a relationship, is just, you have to be you still have to have your own lives when you're together and make sure you're not losing that. That's the biggest thing. Like if you ask any of my friends, they'll say like, you still give us the same amount of attention and whatnot that we always got from you in college and stuff. But so that's a really key thing. But I do look at the single life and I'm like, that grass does look great. Like, not that I would not want to be with he's like listening and he's probably like, what the fuck? But, I don't like just that, you're kind of growing on your own and as your own person. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely pros and cons to each side of it. But at the end of the day, it's your journey and it's what you have. And we get to be grateful for the things that we have and the people that are in our lives when they are.
Exactly.
So a few questions for you. Jonah, do you want to hit her with the first one?
Sure.
Don't hit her though. Don't hit her.
No hitting.
Hit me hard.
So I pride myself in being really good at being single at weddings. And I actually think a lot of credit is due to the bride and groom for making an environment that is good for that. And so my question to you is, are you conscious of your single friends that you're inviting to your wedding? And what are you doing to be cognizant of that? What are you putting people at a certain table? Are you making events? What are you doing to spark romance at your wedding for single people?
That's actually a really good question and a really good point. I think, and first of all, just have to compliment you on being a good single person at weddings, because that's a skill. And that you're definitely a good invite to the bride and groom from their point of view, because they probably are like, oh, when we invite Jonah, we don't feel like we have to go out of our way to make sure he's having a good time on our wedding day. So good job there. My situation's a little difficult because I have recently uninvited a bunch of people, and some of those were single friends actually, now that I'm thinking about it. And it's just because coronavirus, we decided to downsize, long story. Sure. But if I were to invite them, and I'm thinking for the single, I know there's single people on my list still. So for them, I think the seating is going to be very strategic, the seating chart. First of all, I think there's an unspoken rule that all bride and grooms need to follow. That is, if you are inviting a single person, you have to make sure they'll know people there and have friends there. And if they don't, I think you have to give them the option to have a +1. And brides might come for me, because that in the bridal world, that's like a triggering statement to tell them who they have to invite. But I just think that's courteous. Like if I know I'm inviting Jonah and he's not going to know a single person, especially if they have to travel out of town, I'm giving you an option to bring somebody. Now, if you do know people, I think the seating is going to come in really handy. You need to seat them near other people. And I think like maybe create opportunities at like before the wedding, like the welcome party for them to meet and maybe that's where you as the couple can go out of your way to like matchmake a little, because weddings for single people can be a great matchmaking opportunity. So as the bride and groom, go out of your way to kind of introduce people. I'm trying to think what else. I know myself, and I would be like bending over backwards to make sure they're like comfortable and having fun. So I would probably like even start months before the wedding being like, Jonah, idea. You're going to know you would love to meet so-and-so. Maybe you guys can drive down together if you live in the same area. Those kinds of questions or things. And I would make sure that that person's probably seated close to the bar, because
okay.
Yeah. And seated near other single people too. Put them all together.
I love how much thought goes into it before, because you're saying like, if you know that they're coming from far away or that they might get along with this other person, like I like the fact that the more thought you can put into it before, the less you're going to have to be concerned on the day of. Yes. Yep.
Because that's the biggest thing. It's like and I would say for the bride and groom too, I know a big thing is like they get stressed out. I've heard like you'll get stressed out if you don't have enough time to go around and say hi to all of your guests at the wedding. But I would prioritize like the single people, like make sure you go to them and say hi to them and welcome them, because they did come to your wedding to celebrate you as a single person.
It would be nice.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And I think it'd be nice to as you said, sort of the pre-research, I think we should normalize the dossier that we hand out to our single wedding guests. And here's what I mean. 6 months out, 3 months out. Like I have a friend who's going to get married in July. I just found this out this July. And I'm like, I need longer to prepare. I mean, I'm gonna start working out. Goodbye bread. Goodbye, goodbye everything. I'm gonna start getting cut up. Like this, we take weddings very seriously, me and my friends. And I also would like a dossier of every single person there. Not every single person, every single person. Because look, the theme of weddings is love. No one's at a wedding to business network for the most part. So like, why not share that information? And I think maybe, speaking to the brides or grooms or, who are out there listening, who are your single friends going to be? Why don't you text them each other's like info to just build that base,
And the best is if you have like bridal party, because I feel like in the movies and stuff you see, and in real life actually, you see bridesmaids and groomsmen hooking up with each other, the single ones. So if you do have single bridesmaids and groomsmen, pair them together to walk down the aisle, because that's an automatic like we see you two together. And that's just fun. And if they like each other, then even better. If not, they're just gonna be like, well, fuck you guys for putting us together, but whatever.
Hilarious.
Which could also end in a romance because they hate each other at first, then they're like, wait, we love each other.
Nothing's better than a romance starting with hate.
In movies, it's all the time. Yeah.
So
cool.
oddly enough, and like I think about dating 24 hours, 7 days a week, if not more. And my friends are always shocked to find out that like I've never thought about my wedding. Like I don't know anything other than like I will be there, and hopefully the guy I love will also be there, and I think I'll be wearing white. I don't know anything else. But what I do know is that like the second I like match with someone on an app, I think of my first name with their last name. Or on a date, I'm like, oh my God, like I can't wait for our wedding. Like I'll go to my friends after, I'll be like, we're in love, we're getting married. So
you think of the wedding more tailored to the person, kind of?
Yeah. But I guess my question for you is, how soon is too soon to start planning your wedding out in your head? From when you match, the first date, the DTR, the 1 year.
Ooh, so I guess after this pandemic, it's too soon forever because your vision will change. We've all learned that the hard way. Yeah. But I'd say in like a normal life, when you start dating, here's the thing. I feel like if you're one of those girls, I feel like your mentality is good to have. Like, don't start thinking about the wedding. Just because if you're one of those girls and you're dating a guy and you start like thinking about the wedding and stuff and planning that, you're just getting so ahead. It's especially like when you start dating, you're getting so ahead of yourself. And I just feel like the guy will be able to kind of like sense it and might get turned off or creeped out and run away. I don't know. But then again, like let's say, I always say like if Mike and I were to, God forbid, not be together for some reason, all of a sudden, any guy at this point in my life, I'm 28 years old, any guy that I'd be seeing, like it would be somebody that I would see myself with. Like if I didn't see myself ending up with them, I would just say like, nope, what, this is a waste of time. So I guess to answer your question, if you can think about it, but don't let him sense it. You can think about it whenever you want. Fuck it. But just don't let him on to you that you are.
Jonah, have you started planning your wedding?
No, I mean, I've joked about like sometimes I think I made canon recently, privately offline. I went on a date with somebody and I'm like, she's the one. And I mean this, like we have a dating podcast, right? All we do is talk about the fucking games. Like, do we text them back? Like, what do I like? And then all of a sudden I just went on a first date with somebody and I'm like, there are like, oh shit, all that shit doesn't matter. This is like, I actually think this is the one. Like it was a crazy experience. And I was like, I think I like straight up told her, I was like, I think we're going to get married. And it's one of those weird things where it's like, I honestly do think we're going to get married. Like it's really crazy.
Really?
Wait, now it's exciting. On the record.
I know look, again, I've now been on 2 dates with her and like,
And you still think it.
It's so weird to say it. I still think it. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but like I could very much see ourselves spending the rest of our lives together. I see Alana raising her hand.
Did you think that we were going to get married after our first date?
Yeah, no, wait, I want to hear about this. You guys going on a date. I heard you mention that and I was like, I was rooting for this to happen.
I think we're going to be a couple of besties.
Apparently.
A couple besties for the rest of our lives. Yeah. Just
Jonah, did you think that after our date?
No, I did not. No.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. 100%. I mean,
you loved me.
No, this is different. This is like, that's like Jonah saying like, oh, I'm in love with this person in like the way I over romanticize stuff, in the way that we've discovered that I have a problem with over romanticizing things. But this with this other person is this scary, very real, like instant connection where I'm like, this isn't supposed to happen. I just read a whole book about how there's no such thing as love at first sight. So.
Oh no, I think there is.
Ooh, Nicole. Okay, so shout out.
It wasn't like that for us. Oh my God, we like talked for over a year. It was the
classic.
Trust me.
Did you get a feeling? Did you get a feeling when you went on a first date with your?
Okay.
Well, did you even go on a date because it was college?
No, we're the worst. Right. Honestly, everybody's like, so how did you guys meet? You guys are such a cute couple. I'm like we met at a frat party, and I was doing body shots out of his nasty belly button.
Okay, see, like that's kind of my dream. Like that's how I wanted to meet someone.
Let's go out, girl. Let's go.
Where did you go to school?
James Madison University in Virginia.
Nice.
It's known as kind of like a part. It's in the middle of the mountains, so party school kind of.
What else is there to do?
Yeah.
That is so funny. That was body shots. But yeah, I know. So point is, like, do I think about my wedding? No. Like, do I want there to be like, I want everyone to have fun. I'm excited for I love weddings. So like, I'm excited for those elements of like, oh, everyone's got to be in the same place at the same time.
Right.
But I don't have an actual visualizations of how it will look or, who it's with until recently, which is horrifying.
I like that sparkler walkout photo shoot thing. I think that's cool. I want one of those.
Those are cool. The sparkler exits, those are cool.
I didn't know there was a term for it.
I've learned way too much about weddings.
I have a lot to learn, but I have time. I don't need to learn it yet.
You have time. And honestly, again, like try not to plan too much because you never know. And I think you're kind of a type of person. I think like a trick for planning your wedding is like kind of know what you want and then like make sure the other person wants the same-ish thing. Like, for example, my friend just got engaged. She wants more of a low-key thing. Like that's destination wedding, but small group of people, like very, up her alley. And he wants the same thing. But I was thinking about it and I was like, what if he wanted like a crazy lavish Manhattan wedding and she wanted that, but they're like very compatible people. So it's kind of a given that they would want the same type of wedding, if that makes sense. So Jonah, for your future wife, I wonder if you guys are on the same page for your wedding, but I guess
time will tell, right? And by the way, next time you come on the show, maybe I'm like, it wasn't her, but I just wanted a first date with somebody else, and it's the one.
Well, my question is, if by the time this airs in like a week or 2 or 3, whenever we put this out, is she still going to be?
Well, it's if we're going to get specific and granular here, she's unfortunately going to LA for 3 weeks, which is going to play out interesting because I'm using this as a test for. You go on 2 great dates with somebody and then they go away for 3 weeks, right? So a little bit of distance. Is that going to be healthy? I actually think it could be a really good thing.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's like where Mike and I's relationship grew was like over the summer in between like my sophomore and junior year of college, I think. It was like that exciting, like texting and calling each other and FaceTiming. Yeah. And I don't know if we visited. I think we did. I don't even know. I forget.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll see. I'll keep you posted, obviously.
Yes.
But Nicole and Lana, you got anything? That's I think our listeners are going to be. Hopefully, you guys are informed now. Everyone listening at home, how to help your single friends at your weddings or how to be single at a wedding. And we appreciate you being a little correspondent for Seeing Other People as we try to learn ourselves from experts like you in the world of romance.
It was so much fun. Thank you. And I will be listening more to hear about where your relationships go and if they even go anywhere. And if not, that's okay too. Live your life.
It's usually the if not, but someday.
Always be flirting.
Nicole, where can people find you online?
People can find me at Nicole Pellegrino, and the O at the end is a 0 because Nicole Pellegrino is already taken. And then, of course, go follow Betches Brides. We do relationship advice, marriage advice, wedding advice when you do get to that special moment. All of that stuff, picking out your engagement ring, everything. So follow at Betches Brides on Instagram and download the Betches Brides podcast to hear me.
Love it. All right. Thank you. We will talk to you soon.